Welcome to the Professionally Evil Perspective. I'm Nathan Sweeney.
I'm Kevin Johnson.
Kevin, what are we talking about today?
I don't remember. I literally said before we started, I don't remember what the topic was. Facial recognition.
Facial recognition. I got a sign. Smile for the camera.
Yes.
So I personally love facial recognition. I think it's going to change the world, and it's the most amazing thing ever. And I know you completely agree with that, and it should be used everywhere.
And do you know why I believe facial recognition should be everywhere? I never remember people's names. I just want to, one of the things I wanted with Google Glass was that when I walked up to someone, because I recognize faces, right?
Yeah, I know you. I remember
who they are. I remember why I like them. Like I remember all of that. I just cannot remember names.
Yeah.
And so I always feel like this horrible person, which, by the way, I know I am a horrible person, but the ability for my phone, my glasses, my watch, just to go, that's Nathan. Oh, yeah, Nathan. And it's bad. And the worst part for me is many times I remember the person's name, but I don't think I'm right because I'm so bad at names.
Right.
But then I start second guessing myself, right?
Hey, man, how are you doing?
Karen here.
I was always jealous of political shows where, if a head of state or the president or somebody would be meeting people and somebody's in their ear whispering the person's name. I'm like, I need that person. I need an assistant to just sit right beside me and say, this is their name. This is, who they are.
When my wife and I were dating, and then right after we got married, and I started doing more teaching and doing that kind of stuff, Denise and I worked out a system. And I didn't come up with this, I read it somewhere, was that if somebody walked up and started talking to me and I didn't introduce Denise, it wasn't that I was being rude. It was for her to then say, hi, I'm Denise. So they would say their name.
Right.
But do you know how many times Denise would say, hi, I'm Denise, and the person would go, nice to meet you, Denise? Like,
no, you missed the point.
I need the name. What's the name? So, but what drove this conversation, other than your and my complete lack of ability to remember people's names, is the IRS just recently came out and said, we've reversed position. We're no longer going to use facial recognition as a form of sign-in and authorization.
Authentication.
No, it would be authentication.
Yeah.
Authentication of who you are when you're filing your taxes.
Yeah.
Now, I want to be clear. And you and I talked about this earlier. There's lots of things wrapped around this that we can argue and talk. We can talk about the racial problems with facial recognition. We can talk about the problems with accuracy and stuff like that. But I think for this conversation, I think we agreed that we were going to limit it to one part, and that was the commercial use of facial recognition. Not just the IRS, but around, like you had another example that you brought up earlier.
Yeah. So for people who maybe haven't paid attention or don't know the details, just the 10-second summary of what Kevin's talking about. There's been lots of studies that show facial recognition inaccurately or in whatever. It's not, it doesn't do a great job with minorities, people of color, stuff like that, that it doesn't identify them as well. So it tends to be biased against those folks, and they have to go through more hassle to identify, which means that it's more it's a burden on them. They stop using the services and systems and stuff like that. We don't really want to get into that because I think that's been fleshed out pretty well, and I think that's fair. What I think is more interesting is the privacy concerns of it, from a security perspective, because I mean, quite honestly, I think the other stuff will be figured out technology wise.
I would hope. Right,
over time, the systems get better, the AI gets better. With any machine learning AI system, the more better input you have, eventually, the better you get. But the privacy implications are interesting,
and they don't go away with better training of the machine learning and better systems and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, they get worse as we improve facial recognition. Right?
The problem I have is so many people are ranting about, oh, here's all these bad things that could happen with this technology, but not also addressing the good things that could happen. Like, for example, this IRS thing. I've read maybe a dozen articles on this now. I have not seen anybody that puts out a good privacy argument against the IRS using this. People rant about, oh, here's all the things that facial recognition could be used for, and here's all the downsides, and here's all the bad stuff. But the actual way that this was implemented for the IRS, just for authentication, this seems like hey, we already have this technology. It's being used in the consumer world. We're just using it for authentication here. Am I wrong? Like, is there a bad side I'm missing there of the privacy implications?
I'm not sure I'm going to say you're wrong. I mean, I will. You're wrong, but uh, but I agree with you that everything I've read so far from people has been, here's this theoretical problem with this. I have a privacy issue, and I might be able to claim a Fourth Amendment issue, that maybe not Fourth Amendment, that we are forcing every person in the United States that has to file taxes, that wants to do it through the IRS, we are either forcing them to give a picture of themselves to the IRS, which, by the way, the IRS doesn't have right now, right? Which brings up the question, how are they authenticating against a picture they don't possess? Or go to a commercial entity and pay to file your taxes, right? Like,
so I don't think that's entirely true, because they were very clear. You can still file the old way. Like, you don't have to use the new online system. You can still do it, one of the traditional ways yourself. If you want to use the new online system this for now, right. I mean, but you can't argue against something because, well, they may change it in the future.
No. What I'm saying is, what I read was that this is a trial, and if it succeeds, it will be, they've already stated, I could be wrong, but they've already stated that it will be the way to do it in the future. Not just they change the system.
I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. I know people have suggested, like, hey, eventually you won't have a choice. I think everything they've said publicly has stated that there will always be, there will always be people that want to fill out the paper and send it in manually and all that.
Yeah, mailing it, yes. But if you want to do it online, and so the privacy issue I have is just an expansion of government data.
Yeah. So my understanding, the way this is working is the IRS does not actually have a picture of you. They've contracted it out to a third party. And their reason for doing that is we can't get enough budget. Congress won't give us enough budget to build out our own systems. And so they contracted with a third party that is basically federated authentication. This ID.me, I think, like, they validate you.
Yep.
They've got pictures of everybody, so they go through and figure out who you are. And
we posted them on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat.
Exactly. What is it? The 10-year challenge? Like, hey, NSA, here's a picture of me 10 years ago, and here's a picture of me today.
Yeah.
But my concern is that, like, in this situation, it looks like the IRS really thought through, this is the way to do this right, to not be a privacy concern. Yep. And everybody is just jumping on the bandwagon of, OMG, look at all the terrible things that could happen. And
I don't know why that surprises you on InfoSec Twitter.
Fair enough.
It's a bandwagon I'm not on. I should jump on that thing. My gut tells me it's a bad idea. And here's why my gut says that. Anytime the government says, here's a new federated way we've handed over to this company that nobody's ever heard of, has worked out to not be good. But that's not a privacy concern, and that's a very biased judgment against the government, right? Like
what you're saying is things are bad, they can never get better, so we can't try to do it a different way.
No. I didn't say they could never get better. I said things have been bad, so my gut says this probably will be too. But that's not a reason to say don't do it.
Yeah.
I agree with you that the majority of things it's like the slippery slope argument, right? Yeah. If we do this, then this worst thing happens, then this worst thing happens, then this worst thing happens.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear. If we combine the IRS with deepfakes, facial recognition just means if you don't pay your taxes, the government will make the money by putting you in porn. And
I don't see any problem there. I can't imagine.
that is exactly
Nobody.
what's going to happen.
I think it's safe to say nobody is ever going to use Kevin's face for porn. Like I
God,
totally.
I wouldn't want to use I don't even want to use my face for this podcast. Okay, I'm just saying. You either pay your taxes or we sign you up for OnlyFans using deep fakes.
All right. Hold on. Let's get back on track. So there was another article that came out the other day, the Odin System. I know we talked about that earlier. Odin is a company that has this, they call it a homeless management information system.
And am I wrong that Odin only had one eye?
I don't remember. I'd have to ask Eric. I feel like Eric would know that for sure.
Eric would know. You're absolutely right. Eric would know.
Which, I mean, if you only got one eye, that makes facial recognition a lot easier, I guess. Because that takes down like a huge percentage of the population.
To figure out, it's like the camera has one lens. So is that why they picked Odin?
Maybe. I don't know. But this homeless management information system that they're selling to cities, basically the goal is to be able to identify homeless people.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's a Vice article that obviously it's Vice, so they're really emotional and, rant about a bunch of stuff. And I can totally see ways where that can be abused. I can also see, because I went and looked at their website, they talk about providing opportunities to gather information about how to help the homeless population best, right? Identifying traffic flows and who goes where and when and for how long, and figuring out where services need to be provided. And I can see that. You also have saving cultural whatever.
Yeah, the culture of the city will be saved by handling the homeless problem.
Right. It's all right, that's coded language, clearly.
Yeah, coded language for those thugs and whatever we don't want on our streets.
Yeah.
Right?
But I can see, I can see the balance there. There's cool things we can do with tech that can make things better, but it can also be abused by people. So where do you draw the line between...
Watch Jurassic Park?
Exactly.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I actually think the Odin Project is really, really bad.
Why?
I really don't like it.
Why is that?
And the reason I don't like it is because nothing against the Odin Project company, or lots against them. I mean, they're not the NSO group or Checkmarks, two groups that I will rant about anytime. But the problem I have with it is that coded language, that dog whistle I read through their site, and there's about half of their site has really good, man, if they really do that, that's awesome. Yeah. Right? Right around the corner. We just drove by it this morning. Every Wednesday around lunchtime, there's a church on the street the office is on, right? And every Wednesday they give out food. And they get so many people there to get food, which is sad, honestly, that it blocks the road. It's just tons and tons of people. So, and to get there, you have to drive, right? People are driving in. So we're already limiting who can benefit from this food giveaway. So the idea of, hey, you know what? We're going to put the cameras up. The camera's already there. We're going to get video. We're going to find people. And we're going to directly direct the help to them is awesome. This church needs that. They need the ability to find the people who want it instead of making them come to them. Sure. Okay? That sounds great. But you know who else says really, really great stuff that they're going to do to help communities? The Klan. If you ever read Klan flyers, and I have family in Alabama, okay, and I just pissed off all of Alabama.
Last episode we pissed off all the French people. Now it's all the Alabama people.
All the Alabamians. I have family in Alabama. I know people who are in the Klan or are or were. I don't know, but I've seen Klan flyers. And if you didn't know who the Klan was, if you read that flyer, you would say, man, that's a group that is just trying to help their community. They are so, if you don't know who they are, right? If you didn't know anything about them, if it was just hey, I got this flyer about this group, they wear white for some reason, I don't know, and they seem like bells when they're walking. everything they say is about how good they are with people and what they're doing to help build up and everything, which is exactly what the Odin Group's website looks like.
Yeah.
When I read the Odin Group website, I felt like I was reading a clan flyer. And I don't mean that against them. I'm not,
Yeah.
right? But that's what I see. So yes, half of the things they talk about are really good and awesome and helpful. And the other half appear to be dog whistles to elitist. I'm rich. I don't want you to bring down my property values. How dare you? And that concerns me.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah. I think like most tech, there's going to be a balance there.
Yep, I agree.
And it's challenging too, right? Because who's going to be able to afford something like that, right? It's the large cities that have vested interests in.
Not just the large cities, right? But that homeowners association for the $1 million homes that want
Possibly,
to make sure
yeah.
No, there's no possibly. It's actually one of the markets they sell to.
Okay, I didn't get that far.
If you're a gated community, let's put cameras through your gated community so that when the delivery people come through and the DoorDash and the Uber, that we can do facial recognition to make sure that those people don't stay around. Right? They're selling to that.
Yeah.
And that's why I say is, I totally agree with you that half of the things they say, if they do it, if it's used for that, it's good.
Yeah.
But in this case, the disgusting dog whistles are bothering me. Does that make sense?
No, totally. My what I think are interesting, and I don't know if we have time to really explore this, but all of this stuff is already happening on the consumer side. Companies are doing this, businesses are doing this, people are giving away their information for free. Like everything is out there. Is it really effective to say we're going to limit the government? But here's my concern.
Yeah,
we are trading oppression by the tech oligarchy, but we're ranting and screaming against potential oppression by the government. And to me, it comes across a little bit conspiracy theorist, a little bit of.
It totally comes across conspiracy theorist. I will say though, that I have always felt that we as a people need to be worried about fascist governments coming to power, which does not mean we don't need to worry about pseudo-fascist corporations, right? Like, I don't think it's an either or.
And to be clear, I don't think either one of us are anti-big tech, right? Like that's not what we're saying, right?
Us?
my issue, yeah, the issue is. My issue is that this stuff is already happening. And to be quite honest, I don't think you can change it. Some people say I'm pessimistic. I think I'm a little like throughout history, we've seen a couple of times where we've stopped the advance of technology, right? The Incans and the Aztecs, we wiped them out. That stopped their tech and set them back, hundreds of years.
Did you just say the only way we can stop tech is genocide?
Effectively, yeah.
Like that's what you just said.
I mean, Atlantis, what was the the library of
did you just use Atlantis as a real example?
It's an example in history of we have a reference of an advanced civilization that just disappeared, right? Like every place that we have, here's this advanced civilization that had technology they were developing.
Even if we don't know it's real.
Even if we don't know, right. Every example we have is something big and bad happened. It wiped them out. They're gone.
The Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yep.
Ancient Babylon, right? Like we have these places where like, here's these amazing civilizations. And the only way that we stopped the development of technology and slowed things down is completely wiping. I'm not saying we intentionally wiped them out, but, natural disaster or something like that. So short of something like that, revolution, killing off, the current oligarchy or whatever, I don't see this changing. And so I don't know. I guess that's my sermon is I think we need to be more intentional about what we're ranting about and complaining about, and maybe more aware of what's already happening in other areas.
Yeah. I think we need to think about context. Big picture is hard. Context is hard. We've talked about that many a time. But yeah, I think you're right.
I think we're going to see more of this too. I know,
I was
looking at the number of cameras per city in China, like of the top 20 cities that have large numbers of cameras. China has 16 of the top 20. London is on that list. I can't remember. A couple of them in India. Atlanta's got what is this called? Operation Shield. Have you heard about this?
Yes.
They have 11,000 cameras that are private cameras, but they've given access. Individuals have given access to the police, and they're able
Whoa.
to solve crimes and find stuff
Does that
quickly.
include Ring?
Yeah. I mean, quite honestly, if I left my house here and I go to the grocery store, between all the Ring cameras and the neighborhood cameras and people's Teslas driving by, I can't imagine how many cameras that I show up on just in, a 2-mile drive.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
anyway,
Kathy has 6 cameras right in that room she's in.
Probably so. Nobody else can see the feed. Kathy helps drive our project management here on the podcast, and so she's over here laughing at us, and nobody else can see it.
Just to be very clear, she's one of our consultants. Because you said drive project management, it sounds like
for the podcast.
Be like, wait a minute, she did my pen test last week. What are you talking about, project management?
Fair enough. So, all right, cool. I think we need to wrap it up. We're hitting our time limit. Kevin, it's been good. We'll jump back in 2 weeks. Just a reminder, if anybody's listening or watching this, if you've got topics, if you've got things you'd like to talk about, or just you want to tell us we're wrong, let us know. Jump on Twitter, shoot us an email, wherever, LinkedIn, you can get a hold of us. We'd love to chat.